Hello, neighbor. Thanks for coming back to my neighborhood. So, okay, here's the thing. Today, I'm showing y'all the most basic typography things. Typography is part of letters and numbers, and it makes a huge difference in your graphic design projects. And so, let me just show you. It'll make a lot more sense if you can see the screen, what it looks like. Okay, here's the thing. So, this is the word typography. And the whole point of graphic design, really, or advertising design, is you want to get people's attention and get them to buy something or do something. Come to this event, buy this product. Stop smoking, stop texting and driving. Trying to change their minds. Nobody's gonna read your message if it looks like this. It's too boring, right? If they're walking down the hallway and they see this, they're not gonna turn their heads. So sometimes you got to get their attention. Now, this is not the end all do all. This isn't the best thing in the world, but at least it's more interesting than this. And it has the same information, it has the same content. It's just in a more interesting manner of displaying it, right? So here's another example. This says Artists Against Police Violence. First of all, I love the police. I respect the police, but nobody likes police violence, right? Same thing. I'm a school teacher. I love other school teachers, respect other school teachers, but I don't like when like a teacher takes advantage of a student or embezzles money, right? And so that's the point. This is nothing against the police. The actual poster does not look like this because this is too boring for anyone to turn their head to look at. This is what it actually looks like. And so for one, they either downloaded a font that was made by hand, or they just painted it themselves, more likely. And see how they sandwiched it? It's like the letters are not an afterthought. The letters are, some are behind the hand, some are in front of the hand. The letters are a huge part of this project, not just an afterthought. And so in sports, typography is huge. For one thing, you can change an image into a letter as long as it's shaped right. Like if you had something shaped like a triangle, it's going to read as Sparks, and that's not, what the heck is Sparks? So just be sure that it lends itself to the correct shape, right? Here, you can just download fonts for one thing that make a huge difference. This font is just not an exciting font. I like sports, but if I see a poster that just looks like this, sports, let's watch some sports. That's very boring, right? So you can highlight it after you download a font and change it and get some better fonts than the ones that come with a program like that. I like that font. That's cool. Or here's another one. I'll highlight it. I've downloaded another font. Here's an interesting one. Looks kind of sci-fi, spacey. Depending on what kind of theme you're going for, you may be going for vintage. If you are, use a vintage font. If you're going for sci-fi, use a sci-fi font. But whatever you do, your theme should never be boring. You should not have a boring theme. Have some kind of exciting theme, right? So there's that. The best one, I think, is DAFONT, defont.com. DAFONT, defont.com. That's a great site. Okay, so like Auburn University, they overlap their letters and they outline them. That's simple, right? But it looks good. It's a good looking logo. The angels, they put a halo on there. It may be that you have to type something and then do something. You may want to do something to letters that are not just type it. You may want to type it and then add a halo, type it and then add a shadow, type it and then add a highlight, things like that. Notre Dame, of course, very famous. They just overlap two letters. It's just a good looking, simple logo, but at least they overlap letters. Okay, so the Big Ten Conference, a few years back, they adopted an 11th team, and they did not want to change their conference title to the Big 11. It didn't have the same ring to it, so they just hid in the negative space this little 11. Somebody got paid good money to do that. That's typography. Am I a fan of the Big Ten? No, I am not. I'm an SEC man, where the real men play football. However, that's a clever little way for them to skirt around the issue and have an 11 and still be called the Big Ten. So, okay, you might ask, Mr. Cox, well, that's cool, but how could I do something like that? Just calm down. I'm going to show you. Okay, so this is going to be a quick version, not a perfect version. But first of all, you'd use the type tool and never, ever click and drag. It's too inhibitive. Instead, I'm going to step backward. Instead of clicking and dragging, you just plain old click. Like I'm using the T tool and I'm just clicking like that. And I can type in a letter A. And of course, you can Command T and make it as big or as small as you want it to be, things like that. Is this the perfect font for Auburn University? No, it's not, but we're going to go with it for the sake of time. And then, of course, I could type in the letter U. As long as they're on two different layers, you can overlap them. Otherwise, what will happen is if you type the A and the U on the same layer, and you try to move the U, guess what? It moves the A. You try to move the A, it also moves the U. So don't do that. Just have the A on one layer, and then have the U on a separate layer, then overlap it. If you want to give them some kind of outline, you could double click the layer. I'm going to double click the A and go to stroke. Don't click the box, click the word stroke. Because here's the why. When you click the box, it doesn't change the settings to the right settings. If you click the word, it does. So I'm going to change this to be orange. And, oh man, that is one ugly orange. There we go. This is better. We'll go with that. And then you can make it as big or as small as you want it to be. Again, this is not a perfect Auburn University logo, but you get the point. Make it on different layers, double click the layer, give it a stroke, things like that. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Companies have typography. I thought this was interesting. It's the word fox, but they use a fox head to represent the letter O. And you can read it as fox, right? Again, if they were to have a tall, oblong, standing fox, it could look like the word fix. Don't do that. Don't be that person. So just make sure it's readable because it lends itself. By the way, one time I was in a store. Okay, the I Heart New York shirts that everybody who has ever been to New York gets an I Heart NY, right? And sometimes people try to play off of that. Don't do that, because when you have an I Heart NY, you can tell that's I love New York. That's a sentence that makes sense. We can understand that sentence. One time I was in Walmart. I'm not making this up. There's a guy that had an I and it was a piece of poop. NY. Like, I get it that maybe you didn't like New York City. I understand that. However, it reads as like, I poop New York. No, you don't. You don't poop New York. It doesn't. That's not a sentence. That's not how you say things, right? So just make sure it makes sense, right? When you say something. Okay. Here's some more stuff. So there's the fox. This one's a kind of clever one. You can use the negative space. Again, FedEx, we're always on the move, always on the go. See how in the negative space, they put this arrow? It's like a subliminal message. That was very intentional. They didn't get lucky and that happened. They did that on purpose. It's clever, Oh, they're moving, they're going. So, okay, to do that kind of thing, if the letters are spaced very closely. So let's say you type something. Oh boy, this is so large. Let me make it a little bit smaller here, guys. Just be patient. Okay, there we go. Let's say I type out Claiborne. That's my name. If I wanted to space it differently, I can highlight the letters. And then, okay, see there's a T on a hill? Not that. But the next thing is like a folder. That folder is the brain of the type tool. See where I'm jiggling my mouse? Not the T on the hill, but the thing next to that. So when I click on that, it gives me this box, and this box has tons of options. So let me just show you what it looks like enlarged. Let me get this out of the way for you guys. So here's what it looks like enlarged. Wait for it, my computer's lagging. Okay, so you can vertically space text, like lines of text. You can horizontally space text right there. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can make it bold, you can make it italics, you can give it underlines and strike throughs, and you name it, whatever you want to do. So we'll highlight this, go to the brain of the type tool, and then I'm just going to change the spacing to make it 200. Or I can change the spacing, just type in manually 1000, and I can make it really spaced, or I can make it, negative 200, and make it really close together. So that's how you space letters. You don't have to do the entire thing. You could space just the C and the L, or just the R and the N. That's called kerning. If you want to space just one or two letters at a time. Okay, another thing is you can distinguish words by just line width and or color. So like this may be two words, but you don't need a space. That's just one creative way to do it. Like if I wanted to, I could type claycox, no space. Make the clay green, the cox gray. The clay thin, the cox thick, right? And so it would just make it where It's like it distinguishes words without the space. Okay, you can do things like, as long as it's readable, you can make the letter part of a picture, just like you made a picture into a letter earlier. Now we're making letters into a picture, sort of the back and forth of it, the yin yang of it. And let's see here. What else? Music. Okay, some of these are terribly hokey, but just so you can see some ideas. Monkeys, the shape of a guitar. Fish is in the shape of a fish. That one's, kind of fun. So to do that kind of thing, okay, here's the word football. Again, this is going to be a little bit hokey, but just so you can see us there, I do not recommend using this often, but at least know that it exists. I can highlight the word football. This time I am going to the T, standing on a hill, right up where I'm jiggling my mouse. T on a hill at the top. And then I can change it from none, where it says style, none. I'm going to tell it I want to do bulge. And do you see how I can increase or decrease the amount of the bulge? I'm going to click cancel now. I've already done it. Here's the one that fit the way I wanted. And then later I just added 2 little angles and I added some shading and stuff like that. That's terribly hokey. Don't recommend you do that kind of thing, but at least you know it's there to get your creative juices going. Some video games, some kind of clever stuff. They made the X into like a hole. Oh, there's a crack. I wonder what's inside. Gamecube has sort of a G, sort of a C, and it is a cube. That kind of thing. Skipping some. There's the whole shoe's made of nothing but letters. The K is made up of other letters. Hitch. I like this. Okay. The word is not an afterthought. He's leaning on it. It's such an important part of this poster that if the word goes away, like he falls down because he's putting his weight on it, right? You don't want words to just be an afterthought. Make them a part of your poster. It makes them more intricate and, I don't know, just more interesting. So you can cram in letters. You can make a brush out of a word or out of a letter and stamp it over and over. That's a lesson for another day, but ask me if you would like to know how to do it. I think it's on another one of these lessons. If it's not, it should be. Here's another one. You can sandwich things in. So, okay, this is another lesson that's already been done on one of these YouTube things. But see, the girl is in front of one word and also behind it at the same time. She's sandwiched in there. She's in front of, well, I guess the words are sandwiched in there. The words are in front of the background, but behind the people, right? And so if you want to know how to do that, watch the sandwiching lesson. Here's another one where it's kind of creepy. There's a human that represents a letter, and it's very readable. If it's not readable, it's not worth it. If his legs are straddled, it looks like death wash. What is a death wash? But so don't be that person. By the way, do you see how they added texture to it? Oh, that adds so much. If you want to know how to add textures to letters, just ask me or watch another lesson. But rather than it being completely black, it has some subtle little nuances that make it, I don't know, so much more authentic and gritty and real looking. So you can put pictures inside letters. It's called a clipping mask. That'll be another lesson also, or just ask when the time comes. You don't have to type all straight like this. You can, it says Bushwick, but they use 4 rows. Bushwick. You could do that. It's different. It gets people's attention. I look past a lot of these images and I pick a few to show you. This one got my attention just because of that, because it's different. It doesn't say it all in one line. This is kind of fun. Like even the helmet matches. It's a white helmet with white letters, and they kind of fill it in the D and the R just to make it more solid. Such a simple, minimalistic poster, but it's kind of cool. The flip side is this is not minimalistic. This is crazy. All kinds of eye candy going on here. Spaceships and laser guns and Jabba the Hutt's dad and things like that. And so this is letter V, pretty clear. But man, that is one snazzy letter V. All kind of stuff coming up out of it. Here's another one where the letters are such a big part. If you take this away, then he falls down. It's a big part of it. 007 is in the shape of a water gun. We don't do weapons here. We're at a high school. Man, that's a cool metal water gun. Cool water gun they have. So let's see here. To do fancy schmancy stuff like that. Okay, here's the thing. I typed out. I could type it out like this: state champions. Yay. We're the state champions. We're the champions of the entire state. Don't be that person. Don't do that. Okay, here's ST. Got our logo typed out TE. Some different letters. It was sandwiched, right? Like the A logo is above some letters and beneath others. And then you can give it like a little, you know, a couple bars or something. Is this the end all do all? Good grief, no. There's so many more things you could do with it. But is it better than just this? Arguably, right? So let's see here. Here's one for a war game. You don't want it to look like that. Make it look a little more rugged and tough. And, you know, if you want to add to it, that's fine. But again, the difference is between this or this. Depends on what you're going for. If you're inviting someone to prom, don't use that font. Use a pretty font. But if you're making a war video game, that looks more like a war video game. So that's probably enough for today. I mean, goodness, you could keep on going. Here's more with negative space. There's the fish in the negative space. There are bugs in the negative space. I don't know. Oh, I just found a picture of I think that's a ground squirrel, and he looks really mad. That is one mad ground squirrel. So some letters you create by hand, like I made this one. The L and the M, that's not exactly a font. I'm sorry it's so blurry, but I took an actual font and then I just manually went in and chopped it up and cropped it up. You could download fonts too. I cropped it up and made it look jagged. And so it kind of made my own version of the font. And then I just had to make the arrow. There's not a letter C arrow font. I just had to make that. And so there's that. And then let's see, that's probably enough for today. Again, I would recommend going to dafont.com, downloading some fonts, and then just try to make the font a big part. Oh dear, that's the bell. Okay, just have fun. Okay, I'll talk to y'all later.